Hi, everybody. So we're back with another Q&A. I'm Natasha from Herplum, and we have another guest today from Bloom Baby Doulas. Her name is Caitlyn, but I'll have her introduce herself. So Caitlyn, please share a little bit about you and Bloom Baby Doula.
Thank you, Natasha. I'm Caitlyn Undreiner. I am a full spectrum doula. I am certified in birth, bereavement, and postpartum support. So I know full spectrum can mean a lot of things to a lot of folks, but for me, it really means supporting people across that continuum of care and in whatever way that comes forward for families. I'm also a certified lactation counselor. I am a holistic sleep educator and coach. I am a circle of security parenting educator, and many other hats that I wear. I am the founder and co-founder and owner of Bloom Baby Doulas, which is a doula referral agency that serves New Jersey and the New York metro area. And I also serve clients, private clients as well. So many hats, as most women entrepreneurs wear. And I'm excited to be in this conversation. Natasha, you sent over the questions ahead of time, and I was like, ooh, this is going to be a good one. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited for it. I think one of the things that we all are trying to do is really educate our community, right? There's things that we didn't learn when we were younger, and now that we have the knowledge and experience, right? You definitely have the experience, right? And so it's like, let's educate our community. So we're going to jump right into the Q&A questions. First one, what's something about pregnancy, birth, and postpartum that almost every woman or person that can get pregnant wishes someone had told them sooner?
Yeah, I was, this one got me. I hear all the time that people wish they understood that it is not just about one day or one moment, that it's really this continuum of becoming, right? It is not a, I think often we talk about like bouncing back or like returning to ourselves after birth. People think about the birth as being this big pivotal moment, and it absolutely is. And there are a million little pivotal moments leading up to it and also following. It's really this continuum. And for so many of us, it's not even a linear feeling of healing or progress. It can feel one way on a certain day and then completely different the next day. And being in that space of experiencing something that feels so nonlinear and like such a vast continuum, I think surprises a lot of people. And they wish they had known ahead of time how much their body and identity and emotions and relationships and every aspect of their life would be pulled into this evolving continuum, instead of just thinking like, yeah, I'm going to go have a baby and then I'll come home with a baby and the baby will be part of my life and we'll go from there. Right? It's like, it really affects everything, our ability to care for ourselves, the way we show up for others, the relationships we have. It really impacts everything. And I always say to clients, like, birth and postpartum are kind of like planning for your wedding and planning for the rest of your life. You know, yes, birth is absolutely this momentous occasion that we want to celebrate and plan for and invest in with our time and our money and our energy. And everything that comes after is postpartum. And so often we think about postpartum as like the first 6 weeks or the first 12 weeks or like this immediate after birth time. But postpartum is forever. Once you've had a baby, postpartum is the rest of your life. So really thinking about what you want to bring into that space is not just in that immediate space, but how it's going to ripple out and affect the rest of your life.
Yeah. I first of all, I heard so much in what you just shared, in that it's really the before, how you take care of yourself, it's the during, and it's the after. It's not just a thought, I'm trying to get pregnant now, and so the clock starts at that point forward. It's really what you do before, during, and after. And I think sometimes people forget that you do have to take care of yourself in order to support your pregnancy, both mentally and physically, right? And then also once you have the child, you do have to, again, now, how do I take care of this child and kind of still keep my sanity, right?
Yeah.
How do I still kind of take care of myself and do all the things I need to do without getting, burnout or feeling stressed? We do that balance is so important in how we kind of approach pregnancy. So thank you for saying that, because I feel like sometimes people think of pregnancy as a point in time and then forward, and not really a preparation to then event and then after, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And even that wording that we all use, it's like sometimes language is so inadequate, right? But we all talk about taking care of ourselves. And as humans, we are not isolated, right? We are meant to be in community. We are meant to be interacting with others. And that also is true of our care. Our self-care really has to be supported by concentric layers and community, and other people showing up for us, showing up for themselves is what allows us to take care of ourselves. And so I think that often the conversation starts around pregnancy and parenting about like, well, who's your support system? But it needs to start sooner. It needs to be self-care as a young person needs to be about who is the community that is supporting you so that you can take care of yourself. What are the policies in place? What are the products in place? What is the nutrition in place that allows you to show up and take care of yourself? And so we kind of have to like rewind several steps and start looking at how we talk about self-care and showing up for ourselves in the context of community, rather than putting community and the village and that emphasis just around pregnancy and postpartum and childbearing and parenting. It's like, no, we need to take it back, because when we take it back and it starts at the beginning, we're able to really thrive.
Yeah, you said all the things, and I appreciate you saying that, because I don't think that we are unlearning and relearning this new approach of how to take care of our bodies, so that when we are ready, we're like fully prepared and we have the community to help us along. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the second question, which is, many women and people that can get pregnant spend months preparing for labor, but very few prepare for the emotional changes that can come afterwards. Why is supporting mental health just as important as preparing for birth itself? So we kind of touched on that, but if you could kind of go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I would even say it's not even just as important. I think it is the thing. Like really our mental health, there's a big difference between what we are capable of and what we have the capacity for in any given moment. And I think that pregnancy and particularly postpartum shift our capacity in a very drastic way for most people. And a lot of people confuse those two, and they feel like they are less capable or less able to show up in those spaces. But really, it's like your capacity has changed. And when you have better supports behind you to restore that capacity, that's what real self-care is, right? Yeah. And so when you have better supports behind you, you can absolutely restore that capacity and get back to a concept of, or return to a concept of like, what is it to have this balance for mental health? And that's going to look different for everybody. Like for some people, mental health is always going to involve some sort of medication or some sort of therapy. For other people, it is always going to involve time in nature or time with a certain person. It's going to look different for everybody. But everything after the birth is when the nervous system is really recalibrating, right? There's and during pregnancy too, there's disrupted sleep, there's hormonal shifts, there's a huge shift in identity. There's all of this new person in you evolving and becoming. And if we don't focus on mental health, if we don't focus on that integration of what that is, who you are becoming, and also who you are in this exact moment and what your current capacity is, then we're really not getting the whole picture.
Yeah. I think about, I'm someone who, don't have a child yet. I would love to have a child. And so when that time comes, then I feel like I'm mentally prepared, right? But get this word out, right? Mental preparation can mean something different for every person, right?
Yes.
Just like you said, hey, outdoors for one person, it may be journaling for another person, it may be doing a certain activity. And so I think sometimes we kind of get confused on, hey, what brings me energy, what makes me feel relaxed, what are the things that I need, so that I can truly show up in the world as a authentic, real person, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. I think sometimes we're kind of like, well, what do I like, right? And how do I take care of myself? I don't really know, right?
Yes.
And I feel like one of the things that when I started doing yoga, I used to be afraid of, well, what if I don't know how to kind of go outside and do things on my own? That was a bit like nerve-wracking for me. And so one of the things they said was, why don't you go to a restaurant and actually enjoy your food, right? And I was like, what does that mean? Right? Like, what does it taste like? Does your mouth overly salivate? Does your ears open more? Are your eyes opening as you taste the food? Like, what are the things that you actually like? And I think sometimes people forget that what you like is also a feeling, right? As you do things that you need to feel good about it. It's not necessarily what everybody else wants to do. Someone else, it may be good for that person, but it may not be good for you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So the better you know yourself, the better you can also find what are those options, and knowing that, like, so often people will say, well, this is what used to work and it doesn't work anymore. And it's like, but that's great. We're supposed to grow and evolve, right? So what worked for you 5 years isn't supposed to be the same thing that works for you now necessarily. And sometimes, because of this space of the reproductive span, sometimes it's shifting a lot faster and sometimes it's moving more slowly. And we've had conversations before about how, our cycles, even throughout the month, that is true. Right. And I think that, for me, when I talk about support with families, I often talk about those concentric layers, like the idea of there are all these different layers. And the same is true for our cycles and the way that we are hormonally balanced, perfectly aligned for certain activities at certain times. And so the skills and the care that we need is going to constantly be shifting. And there are these micro shifts within, each day. There are a little bit bigger ones within each week, each month. And then, of course, we talk about these major life shifts of, yes, pregnancy and postpartum is a major life shift. But if we start to become more comfortable with the micro shifts, then we can see those bigger and bigger progressions. And I love that you mentioned, like, when you're not comfortable being in those spaces in nature or like certain aspects of the practice, it's like, well, you start where you are. You start by recognizing the things that are present for you right now, and then you can move into those bigger and bigger spaces. So I love that idea of, like, start where you are, like, start recognizing, like, check in with your body. Maybe that's the first step, start doing some breath work, start doing some yoga, start taking a walk and just really being aware of, what the leaves on the trees are curling up today, or the sun is filtering through them in a different way, or it feels a lot hotter or stickier or more humid, or this person is out walking every day when I go out. I'm just noticing this, just bringing some more awareness to your life is often that, like, micro step that then unlocks all these other layers.
Yeah. And I feel like even when you know that, then you're like, oh, when you do get pregnant, oh, this is what I'm feeling. Oh, that's what I'm experiencing. Oh, this is how the baby's making me feel. Oh, right? Yes. All of these kind of now new awarenesses that you're able to understand, because now you have that internal understanding of yourself, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So as a doula, what are some of the most common signs that a new mom may be struggling emotionally, even when everything appears fine on the outside? I think this one, tell us all the good stuff, right?
Oh, this really speaks to the last question too. This is knowing yourself, because the truth is that the first sign is when something is off for you. And that might be a mom who is over functioning and she's telling everybody, I'm fine, I got it covered, I'm good. Or it might be a mom who cannot get herself out of bed. Yeah. It might be a mom who is showering and putting on the makeup and going to every single yoga class and, getting out the door and looking perfect on the outside. Or it may be the mom who hasn't showered in weeks, right? And it's this, there is no this is the stereotypical, except for the piece of what is out of character for you. And that's why it's so important to know yourself and have your community who really knows that with you, so that other people can be looking for those red flags, and other people can say to you, you know, hey, I noticed that this thing that has always been so important to you isn't happening right now. What's going on? Because what's so important to me is not going to be the same as what's so important to you. What I'm willing to let go in those moments of stress or challenge isn't going to be the same thing that you are willing to let go in those moments of stress and challenge. The things that I prioritize might not be the same as the things you prioritize. So really having, you know, a core group of people that know you, and even if they don't know you super well, like, have the conversation. And I remember having, my daughter's now 17, so it's been a minute, but I remember having the conversation with my husband, and I said, if I do not get dressed every day, we have a problem, because I am not a sweatpants girl. Like, I'm a sweatpants girl at night, but for me to like feel like I can get out of the house, I need to shower and get dressed. And even if I'm in the house, to feel like productive and focused, I need to get up and shower and get dressed. Like, that's the thing that shifts my brain into like, I'm ready to go mode. And, you know, I remember saying to him, like, if I don't get dressed, we have a problem. You need to like call me out. This is really important. And I said the same thing to my sisters and several friends. And I was like, if you come to my house and I'm in sweatpants for days on end, we have an issue.
Yeah. I like this
for everybody, right?
Yeah.
There are people who can like live in sweatpants, and that is just because they're cozy, and it has nothing to do with their mindset. But for me, it had to do with my mindset, and I knew that about myself. So I was able to say, this is going to be a red flag for me.
Yeah. Even you saying it out loud to your community allows you to now, for them to kind of like check in.
Yes.
Oh, I remember when you told me this. It seems like you're kind of going into whether it's depressive state or maybe it's not depression. It's just, you know, you're not feeling like your normal self, right?
Right.
And so it allows your community to now step up and step in and help you along. I think sometimes we kind of get into this, I guess maybe mindset that, well, I don't really want someone to know when I'm down and out, right? And so then you kind of operate from a place of I can do everything, which we know when you are pregnant and you deliver, you can't. You actually need help, right? And so it's so important for you to communicate exactly like when you're down and out and how someone can help you. So they need to know what it looks like when you're down and out. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
And that goes back to the piece that I was saying earlier about the capacity versus the capability, because I think that we so often judge that I can't right now as a failure, right? We see that I can't right now as somehow I am less capable in this moment. And it's like, no, you just don't have the capacity. You can do anything at any time, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And, you know, and at what cost is really the question in the postpartum time. It's like, can a mom jump out of bed 5 hours after giving birth and start, you know, cooking the meals and doing the dishes and doing the laundry? Absolutely. Women have been doing it for generations, right? Women have been given birth in fields and going right back to work. But at what cost?
Yeah.
At the cost of the healing that then takes years instead of weeks, at the cost of years later still having pain and discomfort and hormonal imbalance. So it's not a matter of what you are capable of. It really is the capacity in the moment, and at what cost are we making these decisions? And so it's just such an important shift. It's like, it's really key.
Yeah. There's a saying in yoga, my experiences are not me, they're mine.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But now you are owning what you're actually going through, and now you can better communicate. You're not tied to the I'm laying in bed, I'm a lazy person. You're not a lazy person. No. You are experiencing at this present moment a bit of tiredness. Sure, right? You just had a baby, right? Give yourself some grace, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think we don't give ourselves enough grace because we don't know how to kind of communicate what's happening, and it's because we haven't taken a moment to understand ourselves. So yeah, there's a lot, right? Which kind of feeds right into like the next question. How does body awareness help women feel more confident and empowered during pregnancy, labor, and postpartum recovery?
Yeah. I think that awareness leads to a deeper trust. And for some people, it leads to trust for the first time, right? For many, many individuals, and not everyone, but for many individuals around our reproductive health, there are lots of moments where we are asked to trust care providers, doctors. There are lots of moments where I hate to say this, but we are asked to give up our autonomy or our agency in certain ways, whether it's micro ways or sometimes bigger ways. And we have to choose where we want to trust someone else or trust our own intuition, where we want to hold agency and use our voice, and where we want to say, like, I also have chosen this person, and choosing this person and trusting them is part of my agency, right? But those can be different things. Again, different things for different people. And it's not going to always look one certain way, but I think that it's really important to have that awareness so that you can start to build trust in yourself, so you can recognize, when am I feeling like maybe I'm giving away something I'm not comfortable with, or letting someone else make a decision for me, or I'm making a decision, but I don't really feel informed, as versus, yes, I trust myself, I trust my body, I trust my intuition. And if this feels off, I can use my voice, I can exert my agency here. And I see it across the board. I mean, again, having a 17-year-old, I'm like, we've been having these conversations since she was a toddler. She's very good at using her voice. But so often I meet people who are either trying to conceive or someplace in their pregnancy, and for the first time, they are hearing that if a care provider isn't meeting you in what you need, you can change providers. Why is this the first time? Why aren't we teaching our children that if a care provider doesn't look you in the eye and have the conversation with you about what you are experiencing, we switch providers? Why aren't we having the conversation about, you ask your questions. You don't care whether they're on the 15-minute clock and insurance is not paying anymore. You ask your questions. And if that means you need to have a piece of paper with your questions written down, if that means you have to be the pain in the butt who calls 10 times to get a longer appointment slot, you do it. You have to learn who you are, what you need, and be in touch at a much earlier time than you think you do, right? In order to practice. And again, like, that brings the practice piece back in, like, start with the micro things, like start early. And so I always, I feel like this is my soapbox.
You're all good.
Anyone who's pregnant or has a new little one, like, start now. Teach your baby that they can switch providers. Talk to your baby, narrate diaper changes, narrate bath time, narrate anything having to do with their body. Let them build this beautiful body awareness along with this language development, along with this, don't start the conversations around menstruation and puberty. Start the conversations on that changing table about, like, yes, I'm going to massage you now. Are you ready? Like, wait, make eye contact with your baby. I'm going to change your diaper now. Are you ready? Pause, wait, make eye contact with your baby. Lay a hand on their chest and help them feel calm before you do the diaper change and use the cool wipe. Like, there are a million little tiny things we can do to start setting the stage of body awareness early on. And especially for individuals who feel like we came into that awareness later in life, I think it can be such a healing opportunity for us to then be able to do that with our children and kind of reparent ourselves in that moment of parenting our children. Like, oh yeah, I get to do this. I get to bring this forward for the next generation.
Yeah, I love this because it not only gives you a chance to experience what your child is doing in that moment, right? When you do need to make a shift and say, hey, I'm going to change your diaper now. Are they a bit cranky? Are they ready? Right? Maybe they're not ready yet, right? Maybe they still have a little bit of poop left that they're trying to get out and they need your help, right?
Yep.
So maybe it's giving them a stomach massage so that you can help them along.
Yeah.
Or continuously talking to them so that they can feel relaxed so that they can poop, right? If that's one example that someone is experiencing. But really it's no one wants the cold wipe. Like, even as an adult, please prepare me for when it's coming. And I think about, like, I see all of these videos of, when a doctor gives the child their shots, right? And they try to kind of distract them, and then all of a sudden the shot goes in, and then now it's, what just happened? And then you cry, right? The child cries afterwards, and it's like no one prepares the child. Hey, you are going to get a shot. So let me just rub this area so that you're aware. Let me make sure that you know that this is about to happen. And I think that once you become an adult, right, when something happens that you're not sure of, then you get a shock, right? And then that lives in your body.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, so no one told me it was going to happen. I wasn't prepared for it happening. It happened. Now I'm shocked. How do I communicate that this happened? It already happened. We need to be able to properly communicate and deliver. Hey, this may feel uncomfortable at this present moment, but this discomfort from a shot or a cold wipe, it's only going to be a short period of time. So let me get you ready, right? I feel like we're not doing that part, the preparation, to help someone along. And so I like the fact that you said that in body awareness is not just, when you become an adult, it's the conversations that you have with a child, even in their infancy. So, so I love that. I love that.
I just want to say one other thing here is that piece, that shock that we hold in our body, there's also that same shock can come from the stories we hear, and we can have secondary trauma from the birth stories we hear. We can have third-hand trauma from the generational stories that we've heard around birth and postpartum. And so I think that the more we have that personal body awareness, it can also help us to distinguish, like you said, like, this is not, these feelings are not me, they are mine. And so recognizing when the stories that we are hearing are not us, they are not in our body, they don't have to live in our body if we don't allow them. I think that that's also a really important piece here, because there are a lot of, there's often a lot of fear mongering around birth and postpartum, and some of it is completely valid. People are sharing stories because they really want to protect the space for someone. Like, they are often sharing these things out of love, and you don't have to let that live in your body.
Yeah. Because I've heard all the stories, and I think when I was younger, I was very nervous. Oh my gosh, I don't think maybe I shouldn't get pregnant. Because then it's so painful, and there's bad experiences. And so, but now that I'm more aware, it's like, no, I have to have a good connection with my own body. My experience may be completely different than someone else's, right? And I remember a family member of mine, she was having a baby, and I was in the room. And I remember, again, just from yoga, you kind of, if you are hurting in one area, you kind of squeeze another area so you can kind of redirect where someone is concentrating on, so that the pain in that area is now relieved, but the pain in this other area, not really pain, but just a touch in another area is now that person is more aware, right? So you're kind of helping them decrease the pain in one area and concentrate on something else. And I remember her saying, yeah, like in the birth, she was like, yeah, no, keep squeezing that area because it's relieving this other area.
Yes, yeah.
And after the birth, she goes, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how that was really good. And I was like, yeah, I think sometimes we kind of get stuck in the pain, and we don't know how to kind of get out of the pain. But if our community, as you were saying before, knows and can sees that we are going through something and how we can help, then that's another area for us to be able to step in and do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, body awareness is so important, people. So
Absolutely.
learn yourself. Yeah. Once postpartum, we're going to kind of shift a bit, but stay on postpartum. Once postpartum kind of bleeding ends and a woman's cycle eventually returns, why should supporting your menstrual health remain part of the conversation for moms?
Yeah. So the initial bleeding after birth is lochia. And when that kind of, actually, even with lochia, it's telling us a lot about what our body is doing with healing. So paying attention to the amount that you are bleeding in the immediate postpartum, the color of the blood, whether you have clots, these are often things that your doctor is going to go over in your discharge. Like, hey, you have to look out for this, this, and this. And as a doula, I often tell people, if your bleeding has slowed and changed, lightened in color, your lochia has changed, and now you get this gush of bright red blood, that is your body saying, slow down. Your body is saying too fast. This is supposed to be a slow, gentle recovery time. And for many women, it is not. It is fits and starts of activity. And so that can also be reflected in the lochia. And once your regular menstrual cycles have resumed, this is a vital sign. Our bleeding is a vital sign. It gives us so much information about the health of our womb. It gives us so much information about the health of our hormones, the balance that we are in or out of.
Yeah.
And so really learning to pay attention to that, again, I think as early as possible is going to only better support that postpartum recovery time when someone has that awareness already of the fact that, like, this bleeding is not an inconvenience. This bleeding is a message, like a really clear visual message to you, what is going on the inside.
Right.
So if we learn, what do these messages mean? What are they relaying to me? What can I adapt and adjust in order to better support my body and my womb and my hormones? Then we're going to be able to return to that rhythm and that cycle that our body wants to be in. It's like our bodies want to be in balance. We as humans want to be in community. Like, we want to be in these spaces. So everything in your body is going to communicate with you. Come back. Come back. And if we don't listen to the whispers, our bodies start screaming. And if we don't listen to the screams, our bodies put the brakes on and land us back in bed. And many people don't learn to listen until the screams, or until I landed in bed, or I landed with a health crisis. And then I learned I had to start listening to the thing before the health crisis, to the thing before the scream, to the thing, it's like, it can be tricky to come at it from the other end and work your way back, but it doesn't really matter how you get there. We all need to get there.
Yeah. I feel like just for our community, can you share how long the average kind of Loki period is, and approximately how much time between then and when your normal cycle usually starts back?
So lochia is going to be strongest in the first 3 weeks or so. And again, how you are taking your recovery is really going to determine that. Some women are still bleeding for up to 6 weeks. Some women are only bleeding for the first 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to really depend on how you are resting and taking care of your body, because again, this is a vital sign. This is something that our body is sending us messages through this lochia. And so we need to pay attention. And it's also going to shift if you are breast or chest feeding. It's going to shift if you're having more skin to skin time with your baby, if you're resting, if you're eating nutritious foods. It's like, it is a clear message of like, how are you taking care of yourself? And the return of the cycle is it varies so drastically. Like, I wish I could answer that question, but some women have their cycle back by 6 weeks, and some women it's a good year or more. And a lot of that is influenced, it's hormonal influence. And so if someone is breast or chest feeding, they might not get their menstrual cycle back for the duration of the time that they're breast or chest feeding. That doesn't mean that they're not ovulating, but
Right.
they might not have the menstrual cycle and the blood that is sending them the message. And even when you do start bleeding for the first time, you could have, ovulated prior to that. You did ovulate prior to that. So the, it used to be that women would say, well, if you're breastfeeding, it's birth control, and you're not having your period, so you don't have to worry about birth control until you stop breast or chest feeding. That's not 100% accurate. So it takes a little more. There are certain circumstances in the first 6 months, if someone is exclusively breastfeeding and there are other things in place, it can be a form of birth control, but you need to also have the body awareness and be checking your temperature. And there are other things that you want to be tracking. You don't want to just rely on, because I'm breast or chest feeding, I'm not going to get pregnant again. I think that one is a big one, a big myth to dispel.
I think sometimes, I've heard that so many times. Oh yeah, I'm breastfeeding, so oh yeah, I can't get pregnant. And then I'm like, are you sure?
No, they're not sure. They think they're sure, but they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do need to, again, be properly educated on all the things so that we are prepared again for pregnancy, which is why I feel like having a doula, going to like pregnancy classes, reaching out to an infertility or fertility coach, like a wellness coach. I feel like it's so important for us to have, doulas and midwives and educators who are focused on preparing someone to not only have a child, but how to take care of their body from the beginning when they first get their menses until you should have some sort of, similar to like a mentor, right? This is where you kind of go to when you're unsure or have questions, and but there isn't that today, right? There isn't like this one place. And if there is, it's kind of like there's so much reading. I don't even know. So I'll be
true. So true. I feel like we're both so fortunate that there are resources in plethora, right? Because it allows us to find the thing that resonates with us. And when you find the thing that resonates with you, you don't have to keep looking for 20 more sources. It may be your yoga instructor that is the person who is also helping you understand your cycles. It may be your OB or your midwife. It may be your doula, or it could be your neighbor down the hall. Like, when you find that thing that resonates with you, you don't have to check a certain box. You don't have to be with a midwife or have to be with a doula to have this informed conversation. It's really about like what works for you. Who is the person that you can hear that and receive that information from, and spend more time with them.
Yeah. I feel like that kind of leads us to the next question, which is around like menstrual and mental health. So we often separate menstrual and mental health into two different conversations. Why do you think they're actually more connected than people realize?
I think everything is more connected than most people realize. I mean, there's the whole, there's again another soapbox. I have a lot of soapboxes over here.
It's so good.
Well, I think that so often people mistake their niche or their area of expertise as requiring a silo, right? I think that people, instead of looking at the whole picture, our whole bodies are connected. If I have a broken toe, my balance is off, which means my hips might be out of alignment, which means my back starts aching, which means I hold my shoulders different, which means now my head is a little kink to the side, which means now I have a headache, which means now I'm not focused. So like every little thing in our bodies is connected. Our nervous system, our hormones, our fascia, our bones, everything is connected. And when we only look at one aspect of the physical, we are doing a disservice to that whole picture. And on top of that, we're talking about like this as a person is not just physical. This
Yeah.
is also mental and spiritual and energetic. And we have to be aware of these different components of ourself in
Yeah.
and look at them as a whole, because that, that stub toe leading to the headache means that I'm not focusing, which is reflected in how I can show up mentally, which is reflected in my energy for the day, is reflected in lots and lots of ways, right? So like, we cannot separate these out. And I think that our medical system does a beautiful job of separating things out. You go to your GP and you're told, well, now you need to go to the dermatologist and the cardiologist, and you need to go to the, every specialist under the sun. But we have mistaken specialties or niches in practice, and we have put them in these silos. And now the cardiologist isn't speaking to the neurologist, isn't speaking to the dermatologist, isn't speaking to the mental health professional. And so all around us, we are surrounded with this medical system that has separated out and siloed all of these aspects of who we are as people.
Yeah.
And we walk into pregnancy and postpartum needing to be in these medical spaces, right? We need to be in these medical spaces. And if that's the mindset in these medical spaces, it's hard not to get caught up in that.
Yeah.
So it just feels like we have to start looking at the whole picture. We have to make sure our care providers are looking at the whole picture. If they're not communicating with each other, print out your records from the other doctor. Make sure your patient portal is connected to the one to the other. Ask your doctor, can you pull up my records from my last visit with my other doctor? I know you're in the same network. I know I granted access for this. Can we please look at this together? Because it is so important that we get the whole picture. And that goes for mental health as well. Like, if you feel like your physical health is impacting your mental health, or your mental health is impacting your physical health, sign those waivers for your therapist to talk to your doctor. Sign the waiver for, for the medications and the portals to be shared. Have the conversation with both the doctors who are caring for your physical body and your mental health, because this overlap is just, it is, right? Whether we want to see it or not, whether we are aware of it or not, in every given moment, this exists, whether we want to see it or not.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes, and you kind of shared all of the different doctors that we go to for different reasons. And one thing that kind of came to me was, no one is communicating, as you shared, right? But even if you did have, let's say, a therapist that you're talking to about all the things, right? And that therapist is unable to talk to your cardiologist, as an example. Now they don't realize that the stress is, right, that you've communicated during your therapy session. And maybe there's a next step that your therapist recommended for you to do, but guess what? You don't know how to do it in reality. And so now you are so stressed because although you communicated to your therapist, that thing that your therapist is telling you, that homework that your therapist is telling you to go home and do, you can't. And so now your cardiologist is giving you surgery to get a new heart. And it's because you probably just didn't do the thing that your therapist is telling you to do. Right. And I'm just saying that because, as humans, sometimes we are so scared to look at ourselves in the mirror, to make the changes that we need to make. And so therefore you're unable to say, hey, cardiologist, I do have a therapist and this is what I talked to them about. Because you don't want to bring that up. It's so siloed. I speak to my therapist about the things I want to speak to my therapist about. I don't need to share to my cardiologist those conversations, right? But that cardiologist is not getting the additional step, the homework, right? That person needs to do in order for them to really take care of themselves,
Right. And you don't have to share what went on in a session with your cardiologist. I'm not saying like share something you're uncomfortable sharing, but saying to your cardiologist, I'm experiencing extreme anxiety and I'm working with a therapist on that, but I'm experiencing extreme anxiety and I really feel that it's impacting my heart health and vice versa.
Right.
That is important piece of knowledge. And why are we not also challenging our therapists if our therapist is giving us homework that we don't feel we have the tools or the capacity to accomplish without extra stress? We also need to feel just as comfortable saying to them, like, hold the phone. You got to give me some like action steps to be able to get there. You know? Because in the same way that we need to challenge our physical health, our doctors taking care of our physical health and be able to use our voice and stand up for ourselves. Same for mental health. Like we absolutely need to self-advocate and step into those spaces. And if we don't feel like we have the tools to accomplish the things being recommended, or we don't have the capacity, or we don't have the supports, we need to back it up and ask for help in building those things first so that we can then accomplish the homework, right?
Yeah, but I think it goes all the way back to our kind of initial conversations, which is, you know, building the body awareness, knowing how to advocate for yourself, when to speak up. How does, you know, that needs to be taught so that when you do have experiences like this and you need to share with your cardiologist, hey, there's this next step, or with your therapist, hey, I'm unsure of how to go to do the homework. I don't know how to do the homework.
Right.
So can you give me the steps? I think we don't know how to communicate that because we've never been taught how to. This is what body awareness means. This is what it feels like. This is the conversation that you have. This is how you speak up. This is what it feels like. And so these are the responses you would get when you speak up, right? That's not taught. And so the result is we're siloed, right? And then we don't get the full care that we need, but we need to teach body awareness and actually speaking up so that we are more aware of what we're experiencing so that we can then communicate better, right? It's like
100%. And when we talked about those micro steps before, so my child has autism and we do a lot of scripting in our house, which is, if anyone's not familiar with scripting, it's like practicing what you're going to say. There is such power in using your voice to say things out loud. And it can be in the mirror. It can be to yourself in your bedroom. It can be to your teddy bear. It can be whatever. But the vibration that is in your body physically when you use your voice actually helps to settle your nervous system, actually helps it to land in your body in a unique way. And so if you aren't ready to have these conversations with your therapist or your doctor, have them in the mirror when you get out of the shower. Say them 1,000 times before you go to your appointment. Say them to the wall if you have to. Say them in the car. Bring your script with you on a 3x5 card. But like, there's not just the thinking about it. The thinking about it is great. The putting it down on paper is great. But there is a power in using our voice that we so often forget. And so really, truly speak it into the mirror. Speak it into the world. Like, there's a reason that people say, you know, manifesting things like speak it into being. Yeah, the speaking actually has power.
I agree. And so for anyone who is nervous or scared to do that, let me just raise my hand here. I speak to myself in the mirror daily. I've been doing it since I was a kid. And I still do it now as an adult. It gives me the ability to, what are all the things that I'm thinking of? What are all the scenarios that are in my brain? Let me talk through all of those things to myself. Let me see how that feels. That way I can show up more confident and more present and more aware of what I'm feeling, so that when I go into the room with my doctor, I'm like, I want to do this, but I don't want to do that. And these are the reasons why. I like this, but this is, I need a bit more information. And so help walk me through that. I feel more confident because I've already had those conversations with myself, right? Absolutely. So if you're scared to talk to yourself, just know Natasha talks to herself all the time.
Same. We do lots of self-talk because the way we talk to ourselves becomes the way we take care of ourselves, and the way that we expect others to speak to us, right? And it's like, sometimes the things we say to ourselves aren't very kind. And it's like, I wouldn't tolerate that coming from someone else. Why am I tolerating it coming from myself?
Correct. Correct. So, and when you have those conversations with yourself, then you're like, now I know what I will take and what I won't take.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. So we have a few more questions. I know that we're kind of getting close to time, but I want to be able to, make sure all of our community gets all the things.
Right. Trying to keep it brief.
Yeah, no, we're okay. We're okay. So, women are encouraged to be mindful of what they eat and use during pregnancy, but we rarely talk about menstrual and postpartum products. Why should women pay closer attention to the materials that come in contact with such a sensitive area of their bodies?
Yeah. Oh, so I'm sure that your community hears this from you as well, but we are talking about some of the most absorbent tissue in our bodies.
Yeah.
And we're talking about on a regular cycle, we are exposing these, these absorbent sensitive tissues to what, chemicals, plastics, all sorts of things that we probably wouldn't put on other parts of our bodies.
Right.
And I feel like if we wouldn't put it in our body, should we be putting it on our body, on absorbent parts of our body? Because it's getting into our body. Like, let's be honest, we can pretend that it's external and not getting into our bodies. But the truth is that our environments, and particularly with absorbent tissues, our environments are seeping into our being. They are seeping into our bodies and affecting how we are in balance. And so absolutely thinking about ingredients in your lotions, in your perfumes, in your oils, in your household. What are your cleaners? I mean, anything that is coming in contact with your skin, and particularly genitals, are incredibly absorbent, right? We're talking about like anything that is coming in contact and can be absorbed into your bloodstream or your body. We need to be mindful of what that is. And it's not even just that. I mean, it's absolutely products and menstrual products, because of the consistent use over years. We are building up exposure that we probably don't realize, right? So it's not just about that one time I used a disposable pad and now my health is out the window. No. But when we're talking about from early on, for many women, 10 or 11 years old throughout until we hit menopause, we're using menstrual products for a quarter of the month. If we're using menstrual products for a quarter of the month for like 3/4 of our lives, we just expose ourselves in a way. Like, if you think about the accumulation, that is, I mean, things that you put on your body daily or weekly or monthly, like things that are cyclical like that, I think need extra consideration. It's one thing if you painted your walls and you got exposed to some fumes that maybe you don't usually get exposed to, but that's what, how often are you painting your walls? A couple hours once every couple of years is very different than something you are putting on your body all the time. So I think it's really, without fear mongering, it's important to be able to make informed choices. And there's also the accessibility piece. So you need to make the best decision within the options that you have, right? And for some people, that's going to be feeling more limited, like I don't have lots of options. And for other people, it's going to feel very expensive. And if you feel like you don't have options, then start investigating. Like, I feel like I don't have options, maybe because you don't know what is out there, and maybe because you are financially limited, but there might be scholarship opportunities or opportunities to make your own products. I think I'm someone who does a lot of, like, I make a lot of my own home products, like my laundry soap and things, because I don't like the ingredients and I can find clean ingredients and make something more simply. And not everyone is going to want to take that path. But for me, it's like in birth and postpartum, we talk a lot about the planning, the birth plan and the postpartum plan. And the plan is not about the outcome. The plan is about the process.
Right.
And I think the same is true here. When it comes to the products that we are using on our bodies and in our bodies, it's not about the outcome like, wow, now I found the magical mystery product that is going to save my health. It's more about the process of learning about what it is in these products, learning about how your body absorbs them, learning about what they can affect and throw off balance in your body. So I really encourage people to think about, engage in that as a point of learning the process, going through that discovery. Even if the outcome is still the same as it would have been otherwise, it's the process that helps to change you.
Yeah. I like the fact that, and this kind of ties into what we were saying earlier, which is the preparation before the moment and the after, right? Just because you're having a baby shouldn't be the time when you're like, well, let me now look at the products I use. If that's when you learned about it, then sure. But I think there's definitely a before, which comes with education, someone actually telling you, right, that there are other options. But once you know, then now it's your time to actually share with other folks, hey, there are other options out there to support your body in an intentional way. And even you sharing that, hey, I make my own, gives you the ability to say, oh, I know that baking soda is something that it makes my body feel good. I don't get itchy. There's no sensitivity. There's none of that. Now I know baking soda I can use when I make my my detergent. But I think sometimes people don't take that step because it's about convenience. Yes. Everyone is in a rush I need to go to work. I have to pick up the kids. I have to go to this job. I have to all the things. And I think sometimes we don't pause to actually look at what is impacting us, right? And that's from the products we use to actually requesting a doula, to asking the questions in the room to our doctors, to understanding our bodies. I think it's across the board in the you have to prepare your body for it to be able to withstand pregnancy, to withstand tough moments in life, to withstand all the things. You don't just kind of go into a situation. It's kind of like the shock feeling, right? That we were kind of talking about earlier. Now you're shocked someone gave you a shot, and now you're so now what do I do? I don't really know. And so we do have to take a pause and say, what is impacting my health? And not just when I'm ready for pregnancy, why can't I get pregnant?
Right.
I think, and obviously it's not only the products, it's what we're eating, it's us exercising, it's our mental health. It's a combination of things, but if we did make shifts to change the things that are, this is not so good, maybe I should change to this, then that's better for you long term. I think sometimes we forget because we're so busy, right? That with life, right? I'm so busy, I have no time. But everyone is scrolling for hours. I'm not really sure what's happening, right?
The dopamine hit. It's like you gotta get your dopamine in different ways. You gotta retrain your brain. I mean, really, truly, we have to retrain our brains. And all of that preparation that you're speaking to is ultimately it's building resilience, right? And when we start building resilience in our children, they don't have to prepare as a separate act. They are preparing their entire lives. And so I just encourage people to start thinking about that building resilience is the thing that kind of saves you from having to then consciously step into a preparation phase in the same way. It doesn't feel like as big of a lift, right? And yeah.
I'm going to add in there because I do feel like the things that we invest our time and energy in, the things that we purchase, right? Those are the things that's marketed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we have control over what we're buying, what is being available for us to. So guess what? If we're saying, hey, we're buying all the toxic products and foods, and guess what? They're just going to give us more of that. So we have a voice, and we have to say, hey, I actually want something healthier. And then you reach out to those companies and those people who are providing and offering something healthier. And then those companies get to be bigger to be able to offer you more healthier, safer products and services, right? So we have a voice.
Right, 100%. And the right products, the right support is so much more valuable than a bigger quantity, right? And so, yeah, I love the fact that your reusable products are like, you can invest in something that is quality, that is going to be reused. And it's an investment up front, but if you take out your calculator and you figure out how much you're spending on products over time, over what the lifespan of a reusable product is going to be, it's really not that big of a difference. So sometimes the investment up front feels like a heavier lift, but over the long term, you are having such a greater benefit as a result. And so again, it's about the process. It's about people slowing down and looking at the bigger picture instead of just choosing in the moment for convenience what is the immediate thing. And I say that from a place of privilege. I acknowledge, like, there are certainly individuals who only have this paycheck to go and purchase the products for this month and do not have the ability to come forward and make a big investment. I absolutely acknowledge that. And even within the products that are available, there are layers of like better, best, worst. Right? There are layers of what we can decide within any economic standing, within any moment of decision. There are always choices available to us.
Yeah. So you heard Caitlyn, everyone, you have to choose. You have to choose yourself, right? And I think that's really the first step. You ensure there are folks who don't have the financial dollars to get there, but there are communities like us who are doing like drives or giving back to shelters and giving back to communities that are underserved. And so if you are part of the community, if you're not part of the community, get part of the community so that you can support people that are underserved. But not only that, I want to be able to share, I have been, and there are our customers at Herplum who have been using our products for over, for a year and a half, right? I've been using for 3 years, and guess what? I haven't had to purchase another product, right? And not only that, I'm not impacting the earth, which one-time disposable products do. I have reduced the toxins and all the things that are being absorbed into my body. And now I have more body awareness. So you're not only supporting yourself in a more intentional way, you're supporting your community, your only globe, the globe that we're on, the only earth that we have, right? So it's bigger than just a product. It's really about community. It's about self-care. It's really about all of it, right? So as we continue, I'm like, how many questions we got left? Oh my gosh. So how can mothers model a healthier relationship with their bodies and cycles for the next generation? So we were talking about that.
I was going to say, we've talked about this a lot already. I think that for me, it really comes back, like, most succinctly I could put it is like, speak about your body and to your body with neutrality as a place of observation as often as possible, not a place of judgment. Because when we observe, like we were talking about being in the restaurant and like paying attention to how you salivate or whether your eyes get bigger, or when you go on the walk, like how's the light filtering through the trees? Like when we have this awareness, it really comes from that place of just observing, not judging, just observing. This is what I feel. This is what I see. This is what and it's not, I am fat. I notice I'm soft on my middle. Like, yeah, I held babies in there. I'm soft. It's just an observation. It's not a judgment. It's just an observation. And some people might feel judgment around that. Like, they might feel self-judgment around that. But the more you can speak to and about your body and your cycles with neutrality, you are really allowing your child to form their own relationship with their body and their cycle, instead of it being that piece we were talking about before about like when birth stories and postpartum stories that people are sharing with often the best of intentions can kind of like layer in that secondary trauma. The same thing happens with bodies. The same thing happens when we as parents are standing in the mirror going, oh, I've put on an extra 5 pounds. Oh, I have my period again. Oh, like my hair is too dry. My skin's too whatever. It's just, the more we speak to ourselves and about ourselves in that negative way in front of our children, the more they start to have that become their narrative. And so we have this opportunity to shift that, to start looking at ourselves and speaking to ourselves from this neutral space of like, yeah, I can observe this as a thing. This is a part of what is happening in my body, but it is not who I am. Right? This is not my identity. The extra 5 pounds are not my identity. They are not who I am. They are part of me at this moment. They are not who I am.
Right.
And when you come back to that space and pass that on to your children, you're giving them the opportunity to have their own awareness and really build that in their own bodies. And that turns into all these other beautiful things we've been speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are sponges, guys. They're sponges. So everything that you say and do, guess what? They're just going to say and do the same things because you are their role model, right? They're looking to you for, I don't know what to do. This is my first time on earth.
Yeah. So, and it's also important to think about the things that we say to ourselves and about ourselves become the things that we do. And kids, even when we have different words, but we're doing the thing that doesn't treat our bodies well, kids don't just absorb what we say. They absolutely absorb what we do. And so even if you think that you are passing on that piece of cake and they don't know it's because you think you're too big, they know. Even if you think that you haven't used negative language around your menstrual cycle and about how you don't like having cramps and you feel uncomfortable and gross, they know. Like it's really important to shift this in ourselves because they are sponges to more than we think they are.
Yeah. And so guys, we do need to really make the shifts, change the conversation with ourselves. Thank you for that, Caitlyn. So if you could change one thing about how society supports mothers, expecting mothers, and people who menstruate, what would that be?
It's this collective care piece that we've been speaking to. It really is. We are not meant to be isolated. We are communal beings, period, full stop. Like we just are not meant to be alone. And all of these things that we talk about with like, well, how do I help my child become independent? How do I help my child become self-sufficient? How do I help my baby sleep, through the night? It's like, why? I'm sorry, but why? We are meant to be in community supporting one another. And that piece has to be part of the conversation throughout the lifespan. We are never meant to be alone. And that village, that community of support is going to look different for different people at different times of life, but you always need somebody to hold you. You always need that safety net of, I can come back to this. I can land with this person. I can feel safe in this space. And when we start with that, when we start building that and having that conversation in life in a more broad sense, instead of just hyper-focused on pivotal transitions in our lives, then we get to thrive.
Yeah, I love that. I felt that in my bones as you were saying that. I was like, we really have to make the shift. So we do have one last question for Caitlyn. And that's, what's one thing every woman, mom, or person who menstruates should start paying attention to today that could have a positive impact on their health tomorrow?
I would say your baseline for, pick one thing. Your baseline for your mood, your baseline for your sleep, your energy, your menstrual cycle. Like, if you don't know your baseline, then you don't have any comparison points, right? So start observing, if you need to journal it, journal it. If you are a person who uses apps on your phone, use an app on your phone, but start to track some aspect of your physical and mental health or well-being, and pay attention to what is your baseline. Because for when you're entering pregnancy and postpartum, there are so many rapid shifts. And like we spoke to before, that red flag for you for mental health, that red flag for you for physical health is going to be different than the next person. And if you don't have your baseline, you don't have anything to go to your doctor and say, like, this is off for me. Like, I don't care what the numbers are. This is off for me. And that is so true across the board. Like, this is something I teach parents about preventing preeclampsia. This is something I teach parents about preventing stillbirth. This is something I teach parents about mental health all the time. It's like all of these things, there is a variation of normal in anything that we do, right? And if you don't know your baseline, you can't go to your provider and say, this is off for me. You can't ask for the help that you need if you don't know where your baseline is.
Yeah. No, all of that, because I feel like as soon as we get to a place of understanding, I guess, again, us, like, what are we feeling? What are we experiencing? Then we're able to say, this is how I take care of myself. Yes. This is how I take care of the next generation. This is how I take care of my mental health. This is how I communicate to my doctor, right? It's really starts with us. And once we get to a place of understanding that, the world would be such a better place, right? Because then we're coming from a place of real understanding. We're coming from a place of having real human experiences. And tapping into our villages and all the things. So these Q&As that we're doing is really just about helping to educate and support our community with information, helping them feel seen, heard, and supported, and to really bring in experts like Caitlyn so that she can help us along. So Caitlyn, thank you so much for being part of our Q&A. It's really about us bringing a bit of love into our period care experience, our womb health experience. And so I'm so thankful that you're here. And so I hope that we see you again soon, hopefully at a next Q&A session. But to everyone here, thank you so much for being a part of the experience with us. And for Caitlyn, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.